Each Batman adaptation can be summed up in just one word. That word unmasks his motivation. I'm going to show you all of them first, but I won't tell you which Batman is which, because most people get at least one of these wrong. And no, dark is not one of these words. Let's start with the Batman nobody expects to matter this much. Lego Batman looks unserious, and that's exactly how he survives. This version of Batman is loud, dramatic, constantly bragging, singing his own theme song. He turns everything into a performance. And the movie invites you to laugh at him until you understand why he's doing it. Because Lego Batman is terrified of being alone with his own thoughts. Unlike most Batman, this one isn't hiding his pain behind silence or brooding stares. He's hiding it behind noise, music, gadgets, screens, endless distractions in the Batcave. If the cave is loud enough, if the city keeps cheering, if Gotham keeps loving Batman, then maybe he never has to sit with the one thing he can't face: loss. What makes Lego Batman special is that the movie is serious about his loneliness. His greatest fear isn't the Joker. It isn't chaos. It isn't even death. His greatest fear is having a family again. Because family means attachment, and attachment means something to lose. That's why one of the smartest jokes in the entire movie is also one of the most insightful. Bruce Wayne lives in Batman's attic. It's played for laughs, but it's devastating if you think about it. In most Batman stories, Bruce Wayne is the actual person and Batman is the mask. Here, it's reversed. Batman is the true identity, Bruce Wayne is the spare life, tucked away, occasionally used, emotionally neglected. Bruce isn't the man pretending to be Batman, Batman is the man pretending he doesn't need Bruce. That's vulnerability. This Batman doesn't reject connection because he's cold, he rejects it because he cares too much. He pushes people away not because he doesn't want them, but because he's afraid that if he lets them in, he is going to lose them the same way he lost his parents. And the movie is explicit about this. Lego Batman directly ties his loner behavior to unresolved childhood grief, not as backstory, but as an active, ongoing wound. He resists Alfred's concern. He rejects Barbara's partnership, and every time it's not because they're ineffective, it's because they're close. Closeness is the threat. The villains reflect this too. Joker doesn't want to defeat Batman, he wants to matter to him. He wants acknowledgement, and Batman refuses, because acknowledging Joker means acknowledging a relationship, even an unhealthy one. So Batman insists he doesn't need anyone, and that lie nearly destroys him. The climax of Lego Batman isn't about beating villains, it's about accepting help. Accepting that being Batman doesn't mean doing everything alone. Accepting that love isn't weakness, isolation is. By the end, Lego Batman doesn't stop being funny or dramatic. What changes is that he finally lets people stand beside him. The comedy doesn't erase the tragedy, it exposes it. This Batman is loud because silence hurts, performative because performance keeps people at a distance. And when he drops the act, even a bit, it seems earned. That's why Lego Batman isn't just funny, he's emotionally honest. And that's why his word isn't comedic, it's vulnerable. If Lego Batman shows us what happens when Bruce runs from his emotions, Matt Reeves asks a harder question: what happens when Bruce never escapes them? This is the most emotionally present Batman we've ever had, and also the most emotionally trapped. This Batman isn't mythic yet, he isn't polished, he isn't above the city, he's drowning inside it. Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne doesn't hide behind charm or billionaire theatrics. In fact, Bruce Wayne barely exists at all. There is no charming facade, there is only Batman, and the emotions he can't outrun. This version of Bruce is still living in the moment his parents died, not as a memory, not as motivation, but as a constant emotional state. Grief isn't processed, it's worn. You see it in how he moves, how he stares, how he listens more than he speaks. This Batman doesn't talk much because he doesn't know what to do with what he feels. And the movie treats that as a flaw, not a virtue. One of the best examples comes when Batman stands on the edge of the GCPD building preparing to jump. He hesitates, not dramatically, just long enough for us to see the fear. He jumps anyway, and he's right to be afraid. The landing goes wrong. He slams into the ground and gets hurt. Reeves's Batman isn't just sad, he's angry, obsessive, and painfully narrow in how he sees the universe. His crusade isn't about justice yet, it's about meaning, turning pain into purpose. That's why vengeance matters so much. It isn't a slogan, it's a coping mechanism, and that's where Reeves does something brilliant. The Riddler isn't just a villain, he's a reflecting surface. He's what happens when grief and isolation go unchecked, when trauma becomes identity. And Batman realizes horrifyingly that the city doesn't see a hero, they see someone who looks like him. That moment changes everything. This is one of the Batman stories where Bruce understands that how he feels shapes what he represents. Fear creates fear. Violence inspires violence. Vengeance breeds copycats. The final act isn't about stopping a mastermind, it's about changing what Batman means. When Bruce steps into the flood, when he leads instead of terrorizing, when he becomes a source of light, that isn't tactical evolution, it's emotional evolution. This Batman learns that pain doesn't give him clarity, it gives him blind spots. The movie lets that lesson hurt, lets Bruce be wrong, and that's why audiences connected so deeply. This Batman isn't finished, he isn't healed. He's a man learning that emotions don't make him weak, they make him human. That's why Matt Reeves' Batman isn't defined by darkness or grit. He's defined by feeling. That's why his word is emotional. Reeves' Batman is consumed by what he feels. On the other hand, Christopher Nolan asks something different. What does Batman mean? Nolan's Batman isn't centered on trauma or rage. He's about ideas. From Batman Begins onward, Bruce Wayne is framed less as a person and more as a problem to solve. Fear, justice, chaos, order, responsibility, symbolism. These aren't background themes, they're the engine. This Batman doesn't just fight criminals, he interrogates concepts. Bruce's journey isn't about fixing pain, it's about refining a philosophy. Can fear be weaponized for good? Do symbols matter more than people? That's why this Batman talks so much. Unlike Reeves' silence, Nolan's Batman is constantly debating with the Joker, Gordon, Alfred, Gotham itself. Every villain is an argument. Each one challenges Batman's view, and Batman responds not with emotion, but with reasoning. Even Bruce Wayne's billionaire persona is philosophical. It's not just a disguise, it's a thesis, a way to separate responsibility from identity, a way to test whether a man can be more than his actions. That's why Nolan's Batman is obsessed with rules. No guns, no killing, no crossing lines. These aren't boundaries, they're hypotheses. What happens if I hold the line? What happens if I don't? The Dark Knight exists to stress test those rules. The Joker doesn't want to kill Batman, he wants to break his logic, to prove that ideals collapse under pressure, that chaos is inevitable, and Batman's greatest battles aren't fights, they're choices. The fairy experiment, taking the blame for Harvey Dent, becoming the villain to preserve hope. Nolan's Batman understands that symbols outlive people, so he sacrifices reputation, image, even truth. Not out of emotion, but belief. Belief in systems, in order, in meaning over comfort. That's why this Batman feels colder to some viewers. Distant, abstract, because he is. He's not Batman as a man, he's Batman as an argument. And that's why Christopher Nolan's Batman is philosophical. If Nolan asks what Batman means and Reeves asks what Batman feels, Tim Burton asks something stranger. What if Batman isn't realistic at all, but emotionally honest? Burton's Gotham doesn't resemble an actual city. It's exaggerated, gothic, hostile. Shadows stretch unnaturally. Architecture looms. The city feels alive and watching. That's the point. Burton's Batman lives in an universe shaped by trauma, not logic. And trauma doesn't feel grounded. It feels theatrical, nightmarish, unsettling. Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne barely speaks. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't philosophize. He simply exists, withdrawn, haunted. And that restraint is what makes him fascinating. Because Burton isn't exploring Batman as a man fixing a city, he's exploring Batman as a creature born from it. This Gotham creates monsters, and Batman is one of them. That's why the villains fit perfectly. Joker is flamboyant and grotesque. Penguin is warped by abandonment. Catwoman is fractured and reborn. Everyone externalizes their damage. Batman belongs. Burton understands that Batman is inherently stylized, a man dressed as a bat, fighting themed criminals. Trying to ground that too much risks missing the emotional truth. So Burton leans into fantasy, because fantasy is how trauma expresses itself. Batman isn't meant to be understood, he's meant to be felt. A silhouette on a rooftop, a presence in the dark, a symbol of the night. That's why Bruce Wayne feels secondary. This Batman doesn't debate ethics or balance identities, he simply is not realistic, but unmistakably fantastical. And once you accept Batman as fantasy, the next question isn't, is this too absurd? It's, has Batman ever not been absurd? That's where the adaptations that never pretended otherwise come in. Leslie H. Martinson's Batman starring Adam West and Joel Schumacher's Batman starring Val Kilmer and George Clooney. They understood something darker versions sometimes forget. Batman has always been exaggerated and theatrical. A man in a bat suit, bat gadgets, bat vehicles, bat everything. A character built on spectacle, that's camp. An aesthetic that treats excess and artificiality as intentional, not accidental. It doesn't hide the absurdity or explain it away, it plays it straight. Camp isn't mockery or apology, it's confidence. Adam West's Batman embraced that confidence completely. Bright sets, gleefully exaggerated performances, punctuated fight scenes. In the 1966 movie, he faces Catwoman, the Penguin, the Riddler, the Joker, and even a shark hanging from a helicopter ladder, and defeating it with shark repellent bat spray. The absurdity works because the performance never winks at the audience. Shoemaker follows the same logic, just amplified. Neon Gotham, excess everywhere. In Batman Forever, Bruce Wayne's inner conflict is staged with therapy sessions and giant bats. Psychology rendered as spectacle. In Batman and Robin, Mr. Freeze delivers ice puns, Poison Ivy speaks in dramatic monologues, and Batman flashes the infamous Bat credit card. This Batman isn't meant to feel practical or intimate, he's branding made flesh. A pop icon performing heroism rather than inhabiting it. And that's the takeaway. These versions survive not because they misunderstood Batman, but because they understood his flexibility. Batman doesn't belong to a single tone. He can be serious, absurd, or flamboyant, and still be Batman. Camp isn't a mistake in Batman's history. It's proof of how much Batman can stretch without breaking. If Camp shows Batman at his most playful, Snyder asks what happens when all of that disappears. What's left isn't a man, it's a legend that's forgotten how to be human. Snyder's Batman isn't a detective or a symbol, he's a force who has lost faith. For the first time, Batman faces a literal deity walking the earth. When Superman exists, Batman can't remain human. So he doesn't. He reshapes himself into something mythic enough to stand in Superman's shadow. This Batman doesn't move like a person. He storms, crashes, descends. Violence isn't strategy, it's inevitability. Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne isn't grieving. He's hollow. This is a Batman who has outlived hope, outlived idealism, outlived restraint. Every line on his face suggests exhaustion beyond age. Batman isn't a protector, he's judgment. That's why his conflict with Superman works symbolically. It's a fallen legend, deciding unchecked power must be destroyed, because he no longer trusts belief. This Batman brands criminals. This isn't a Batman learning whether to cross the line. It's a Batman who already has, and has to live with what that turns him into. This Batman operates from fear, not hope. The setting reflects that. Gotham feels ancient, heavy, apocalyptic. Redemption, when it comes, is mythic too. This Batman isn't about psychology, he's about ideology. That's why Snyder's Batman isn't dark or gritty. He's mythical. People argue endlessly about which Batman is right. But that debate misses the point. Each one exists for a reason. Batman can be vulnerable, emotional, philosophical, fantastical, camp, or mythical. And the version that resonates most depends on what you need Batman to be. The question isn't which Batman is best, it's which one reflects you. Batman keeps being reinvented because he's flexible enough to absorb whatever we project onto him. Different generations, different fears, different needs, same symbol. And maybe that's why Batman lasts. Not because he gives us answers, but because every generation uses him to confront the questions it's afraid to face.